Ignoring the various pre-production prototypes that it made, like the 1602E prototype made in 1972, that was an official marathon escort car for the 1972 Olympics in Munich, Germany, the LS Electric from 1975, the various 3 Series electric prototypes and the BMW E1 that was built in the 1980s and early 90s, and of course more recently the limited production BMW Mini E and BMW Active E prototype test fleets, BMW's foray into the electric car world really started in earnest in 2013. It was then that BMW officially began producing the i3 EV, its range-extended sibling, the i3 Rex, and the i8 plug-in hybrid sports car, showcasing a whole new slew of technology such as ultra-lightweight carbon fibre reinforced plastic construction. These plug-in models were given their own sub-brand in the form of BMW i. Portrayed as the company's specialist mark for new technologies and fuel-efficient vehicles, it allowed BMW to dip its corporate feet into volume electric vehicle production while keeping it separate from its mainstream money-earning models. Fast forward 7 years, and now BMW is integrating its electric vehicle technology into its mainstream brand. The i plug-in hybrid drivetrain from the i8 has gone through several iterations and is now found in pretty much every plug-in hybrid variant of BMW's mainstream models. And earlier this year, BMW began production of its first mainstream branded electric car, and by that one that is made of or looks more conventional than the i3 and i8, that is. It was, of course, the BMW iX crossover. Produced in China as an electric sibling to the X3, the iX3 is now going on sale in China, Europe, and other markets around the world, but not in the US, where BMW dealers reportedly balked at its expected 286-mile, 460 kilometers range on the overly optimistic WLTP test cycle. Today, BMW unveiled its second all-electric mainstream model, the BMW iX crossover. Teased for years as the BMW iNext concept, the iX is thankfully a lot more practical than its slightly bizarre concept cousin, and today we're going to go over some of the important things that we now know about the car thanks to its official reveal. The second of 25 new electrified models due by 2023. Remember, electrified can mean anything from mild hybrid through to battery electric or hydrogen fuel cell electric. It's due to enter into production late next year as a 2022 model year car. First up, let's deal with the design. Like the rest of the BMW family, and to some extent the iNext concept that it evolved from, the iX has BMW's usual kidney grille up front. Being an SUV, that kidney grille is more vertical than it is in some other models, but it's just as massive as you'd expect a modern BMW kidney grille to be. And if you haven't seen the meme about the evolution of the size of BMW's kidney grilles, well, just look it up. The iX looks to be right on track. That said, according to BMW, the oversized grille does have a purpose. It hides a suite of sensors that could one day be used for autonomous driving, or at least offer some kind of advanced driver assistance features. But more on that later. Overall, the shape of the iX hasn't changed a lot compared to the iNext before it, but the hood area has received a little softening compared to the concept, and the lights are a lot wider in their aperture than the iNext's lights. Although, according to BMW, these LED headlights are still the narrowest of any production BMW, thanks to BMW's new matrix laser light design. And instead of the rear suicide doors that we saw on the iNext, something I'm sure was carried over from the production i3, the iX gets normal front hinging doors, both front and rear. Squint at the front from the side and there's not a lot to differentiate it from an X5. Sitting on 20, 21 or 22-inch wheels, depending on the specs you pick, the iX certainly sends the right vibes for an electric SUV, and while it is closer to the X5 in terms of length, it sits at about the same height as the X6. The rear quarter panels of the iX certainly have a lot of i3 about them on profile, and the rear tailgate looks like what you might expect if the X5 and i3 had an illegitimate love child. And yes, that means the same on-hitch rear lights that the i3 has. Side note, this probably means for the US that the lowest reflectors will be capable of operating as rear lights when the hatch is open, something that both the BMW i3 and Chevrolet Bolt EV both do, as they have their rear lights on the hatch, and US safety regulations require lights to be on a fixed body panel or to have an alternative light source when that hatch is opened. That rear hatch and its long elongated lights remind me a little bit of some Volkswagen hatches I've seen, but one thing that does draw your attention away from it is the blue accents low down on either side of the rear, just like the iX3 has. They highlight where you'd expect tailpipes to be on most BMWs. And this is a bizarre styling decision because on one side it feels like a BMW is trying to draw attention to the lack of tailpipes, and on the other it wants to convince people that maybe it does have tailpipes, at least if you don't look hard enough. That blue around the tailpipe accenting, the BMW i Blue, is becoming a standard feature of all BMW electric vehicles, and like the iX3, the accenting can also be seen around the grille and along the lower door sills. Talking of these doors, there are two other things to note. The doors themselves have frameless windows, while the door handles are flush with the body when not in use. Like so many other high-end electric cars coming to market, they are push-button activated. The design, neither eye-grabbing nor particularly objectionable, has a lot less of the swoopy body lines you might expect from a BMW, and that's partly because the company wanted the iX to get as high a coefficient of drag as possible. The better the coefficient of drag, the more easily it slips through the air, and the less energy it consumes. According to BMW's official, as usual, verbose press releases, that figure is 0.25. That's the same as the original Honda Insight that we're restoring, as well as the Tesla Model X, in case you were interested. Other efficiency gains come from the car's aluminium space frame and carbon fibre reinforced plastic body cage, something that BMW says helps save a lot of weight and improves overall efficiency. As far as electric automakers go, I think BMW probably is one of the automakers that's done the most to reduce the weight of its vehicles with new construction techniques in the pursuit of efficiency, and frankly it's good to see the i brand's material engineering heritage followed for the iX. Inside, the iX is very different to any other BMW SUV I've seen. There's a single-piece curved digital dashboard that extends from behind the octagonal steering wheel, which feels a little like a higher-resolution version of the infamous quadratic steering wheel found on the Austin Allegro in the UK of the 1970s. Aside from that single screen, there's a head-up display system for the driver and a centre console forward of the armrest that features a very futuristic take on BMW's standard iDrive system. The jog wheels have been given a polished crystal finish, which reminds me of Rolls-Royce's take on iDrive. Remember, Rolls is currently owned by BMW. There's also open-pore wooden panelling hiding touch-sensitive controls. I'd assume, unless BMW has treated the wood in some kind of resin, that surface will feel certainly different to most wood panelling found in cars today. In the launch car we've seen photographs of, the interior is split between textiles made of recycled materials and microfiber fabrics. These evoke the same colour schemes used in the i3, and in this example are a two-tone blue and grey. I understand that the wood is FSC certified and any leather, presumably optional in some versions, will be olive leaf tanned. Interestingly, the dashboard itself is also covered in the same blue microfiber material found elsewhere in the car, and while that's an unusual choice, it could actually help reduce glare from the road ahead and help prevent the cabin from heating up too much, while also giving better vision of the road ahead and better visibility of the HUD system. I should be clear, though, that BMW hasn't said this. I'm just hypothesizing based on what I can see. Like pretty much every other electric SUV out there, though, the roof is a full-length panoramic glass one, with optional electrochromic shading. Styling out of the way, let's talk specs. According to BMW, the iX features the 5th generation of BMW's eDrive technology, and in this case consists of twin electric motors, one front and one rear, producing a combined total of 370 kilowatts, or 500 horsepower. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, that's 0 to 62 miles per hour, takes, quote, under 5 seconds, with efficiencies of, quote, less than 21 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, or 62 miles, when using the WLTP test cycle. With a battery pack underneath the car, storing more than 100 kilowatt hours of energy. I should note that that's a nominal figure, not a usable one, and BMW doesn't actually give specific battery pack capacities in its media pack. The company quotes a WLTP test cycle range of more than 600 kilometers, 372 miles per charge. Using the standard EPA test cycle, however, that range is closer to 300 miles, 482 kilometers per charge. That would take it to the magic 300-mile figure that BMW dealers supposedly said the iX3 needed to get, or it wouldn't be able to sell in the US. Being larger than the iX3, I guess the iX has been able to get some extra battery capacity into the pack to make that happen. In terms of charging, BMW says the iX will have a maximum charging rate of 200 kilowatts, achieving a 10 to 80% state of charge from a compatible CCS charging station in ideal situations in 40 minutes. When the battery is suitably low, it's possible to add 120 kilometers, 75 miles of range, in just 10 minutes. Just like the iNext promised, the iX is full of lots of technology, with what BMW suggests is the most powerful in-car computing it's put in a vehicle. There's 5G connectivity as standard, as well as a full suite of sensors all around the vehicle. If you remember the iNext concept, you'll probably remember that it was promoted with level 3 or even level 4 autonomous vehicle technology, but at launch, it's likely the iX will not have this. The sensors are there, and so too is the onboard processing power for autonomous driving, but BMW is likely to only activate this in the future via an over-the-air software update, presumably when it's confident in the technology and it has the regulatory go-ahead to do so. Sadly, we don't have pricing, but I should finally acknowledge the way in which the iX was developed. Unlike previous cars, BMW has put a lot of time and effort into digitally developing the iX, with lots of virtual design and engineering work, as well as materials engineering and even physical testing carried out in its €1 billion research and development facility. I'm not going to go into that here, but if you are interested, do check out the sponsored video that BMW did with Linus Tech Tips about the very same facility. I'll link to it below or right here for you to watch when we're done. Which is now, because that's it for today's video. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.